Welcome back to Eating Elephants Ministry. This is the podcast portion of our ministry. Today's guest is Justin, who is the best brother of our producer behind the cameras, Tony Abbott. This is Justin Abbott, and he's a nutritionist, a great husband, and looking forward to talking to him today. So thank you for listening. Obviously, we're going to have an action step at the end of this, so make sure you guys check that out in the follow-up video as well. All right, thanks for watching. Good? All right.
I like you guys do that.
The intros?
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay. All right.
Well, the action stuff.
We're trying to, we're trying to, it's what sets us apart.
Right.
You know, a lot of times I'm hearing podcasts, they're talking a bunch and then nothing gets done. So we're trying to, what we call, like the phrase, how do you eat an elephant? Have you ever heard this?
Yeah.
One bite at a time. So that's every episode we're taking a bite.
Yeah.
We got to find the elephant. But
I love the name too.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. I went to the bank. Dude, just off story before we start, but I went to the bank and to open the account. You know, it was kind of awkward just to say it right off the rip with no explanation. So I said, Eating Elephants Ministry, and she goes, "Oh, that's terrible. I love elephants." like she had a real problem with it, dude. So
if you know, you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know. All right.
People upset about elephants.
yeah. People are
subject.
excited about elephants. Okay, so all right. Welcome to the podcast, Justin.
Thank you.
What is it like to have a gay brother, dude? Just right off the rip. Let me just figure that out.
It took some getting adjusting too, you know. Had definitely different when you had to share one bathroom.
Ooh.
But yeah, it was all right.
Dang.
We adjusted. We overcame.
You are the much bigger brother to Tony. And Tony kind of called it in this week. I said, Tony, you know, I've gotten some of the first guests. Can you please book this week? And he called his brother and his mom.
You called mom too, huh?
yeah. Your mom's the next one, dude.
And you guys are both coming on.
Yeah.
And here you are. So
yeah. So I appreciate that. You know, getting the easy ones out of the way, the ones that can't say no.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. You can't deny us, man. So that's pretty cool. We've always had mutual friends together. I don't know. I mean, we went to the same church for a while. Did you ever go to First Baptist Bartow?
No.
Okay. But was it like I knew you through Tony and through Mike? I guess, I mean, your dad was my Sunday school teacher, so I saw you around. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go a couple times to Bartow.
Yeah.
I used to go to the one down the street right next to right across the street from the high school.
First Assembly.
First Assembly.
Yeah,
That's where all the kids went. Dude.
I went there for a long time.
That place
during high school.
was going. Yeah. I mean, I showed up to a few events over there, and that was pretty wild.
The youth was nice. Like the youth pastor, Frankie there, man, him, like the way he was able to connect to teens was very big for me. It was very impactful for me.
Gotcha.
Now, the big service church was, we grew up Baptist, so it was definitely different. So I remember the not the first time I went there, but one of the Sundays I went, someone just started breaking out in tongues.
Yeah.
And it threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
It really did. Like it was weird. I'm not gonna lie, it was weird.
Okay.
But I vibed with the youth group on Wednesdays. I did like that.
What did you think about that? If you're hearing it for the first time, well, like, I know it's freaky, but were you like, this is legit? Did you think?
No.
Okay.
To be honest, I personally did not have a good feeling. Like it was weird. Like I had like goosebumps in a way. Not like because it was like super spiritual or whatever, but it was something just was weird to me. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Just personally, like it was just different. I've never experienced anything like it before in my life.
Yeah. Like, did you get used to that? Where you keep?
It only happened once.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, twice. It did happen twice. But yeah,
Gotcha.
no, I'd still get used to it. I did.
Yeah.
Quit going there in a way.
That's a strange move. I mean, it does. Like, there is kind of a biblical order of things when it comes to that stuff, but for it to happen as much as it happens, it kind of weirds me out. You know, especially what they call slaying in the spirit, where people are falling down.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Did you see that a lot there, or
no?
No.
It was the different thing too is always older people, like elderly.
Oh, okay.
Like probably like 70 or older.
Yeah.
So they didn't fall down, but they were definitely like walking and then trembling, and it was
Gotcha.
It was something.
Gotcha.
I remember we had some friends. They came for the first time to church with us for the first time, and that happened that day that they came. And I remember we all just really looked at each other. It was like,
ooh, yeah.
It was like, I don't know how to explain this. I really don't.
Yeah, there's a few times. The first time I saw runners in church freak me out, like people running with their eyes closed and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, I was like, they're peaking. You know, they're not going.
yeah,
They're not. And I'm like, what's the point of this? You know, are we just getting cardio in while I'm trying to read some words or something? I didn't understand why it was even happening. You know, and especially like those, they got flag twirlers in there. If you sit behind one of those, you're not going to worship. I mean, it's just like these it's just somebody just right in front of your face, just twirling around. Yeah, so you got to move around from there. But I mean, seeing some weird stuff like I know one guy. I guess he had there was like I think it was a fake sword. I'm not sure, but there's a guy front row, just Excalibur, just moving it around like worshiping, and I'm just.
Was this in Florida?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Wow.
this was this is one of the times one of my buddies was playing a gig for a church, and yeah, somebody pulled a sword out and
Like out in the boondocks?
so,
Or anything,
no, man, no, just it's one of those charismatic things.
Yeah.
I don't think they do it everywhere, but that guy sure had a sword out, man. I don't think it was a risk because nobody came and stopped him or what, but
That's kind of crazy. Like, that man came to church with a sword.
I think he took it off of a wall or something.
Oh.
I think
That's different.
he
Okay.
didn't. Yeah, he didn't bring he didn't have a
like
sheath.
sheath?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't have something on his back or on his side. No,
Understood.
that would be a different thing. I think
Yeah, no, I agree.
it didn't seem like, since nobody reacted, it didn't seem out of the norm, dude. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Just another Sunday. Everybody
Yeah,
else.
yeah. It's like, that's Bobby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the sword guy.
He's doing Bobby's thing.
Yeah, he's the sword guy, Bobby. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I mean, whenever I hear that kind of stuff or whenever I see that stuff, I'm always a skeptic. I'm always kind of just like, especially if somebody is a little too easy to just say it or to just do it. I mean, it's not something that I think should be taken lightly if I see it happen. But not to get too far into the weeds, because it's just kind of, it's also a thought of when we go to a Baptist church or when we go to a more conservative place, maybe that stuff's not happening because they're not expecting it to happen. They're not asking for it to happen. They're not like moving in that way to make it happen. So, you kind of have two sides of the coin there. But anyway, so where are you at? Where are you at in the faith now? Like, how you doing?
Like I said, we grew up in church. Our dad, he was also our youth pastor when we first moved to Florida. When we went to I forget the name of the church, but in Highland City over there. But
Okay.
so we grew up in it, very familiar with it. Used to VBS, all things like
Yeah.
that. Awana, all the fun,
Sick.
cool stuff
Yeah.
as a kid. But the older I got, obviously, I have a rebellious spirit in me.
Okay.
I always have. Sure, my parents will attest for that. Maybe even Antonio. So the older I got, obviously, I don't want to say it wasn't not cool not to have faith. Like, I don't think faith was as talked about as much as what it is today, if you think about it. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I feel like there's more of a presence in faith, or maybe it's just because I happen to just pay attention now. But so I kind of drifted away. I always still believed, but I never practiced. I wasn't going to church on Sundays. Ever since high school, I think that's kind of when I kind of actually stopped. Maybe like a year or two after high school is when I stopped going to church. And I just started going to church again, other than like Easter with the parents, the typical Southern Baptist thing to do, with Easters and Christmas.
Yeah.
But so I would say about the last year or so, I just started getting back into church, getting my faith, reading the Bible, trying to learn more, and grow my faith with it. So I've always had doubts. Even the faith is the hardest part. Like, I've had conversations with Antonio a lot.
I was going to say, do you want to talk to Phil about some of your doubts?
Send it, dude. Let me hear him.
Yeah.
So
Let's
I wouldn't say that it's necessarily doubts, but like, if you think about, like, right now I'm actually reading the book of Matthew again, all over again.
Okay.
Because that's where Antonio actually recommended to learn more about God and his life and the things he did when he was here. And
Can you speak a little bit to the mic?
Is that better? All right. So one of them being, this has always been since I was a kid. I've even was like, all right, this sounds a little crazy. Okay. I've watched a lot of Animal Planet. I've seen some things, but I've never once seen anything like this. Okay. Like Jonah and the whale.
Uh-huh.
Like, that one just throws me off. Like, so you think about When's the last time you've seen on Instagram or only in Date or anything like that? Like, hey, man swallowed by a whale, survived for like, what was it, 7 days, 3 days, whatever it was? 3 days, and then lives to tell about it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying I doubt it, but like, that's where the faith part comes into play. Like, you have to have faith in that.
Yeah.
Because you don't hear things like that.
Right.
No.
Yeah, and some guys, they try and do the scientific thing. Like that was something I looked into when I was getting into apologetic stuff, like defending the faith, and so they're like, blowholes are big enough to hold a man that's up to 6 feet. You know, it's like, all right, yeah, and I guess if they got to come up for air, like the guy can survive or whatever. 3 days without food, he's fine, right? But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you do have to have faith on some of this stuff in the Old Testament. It's like, whoa, okay. Yeah. Like pillar of fires, pillar of smoke, people separate, or God separating the waters. That stuff's pretty wild to me.
It's definitely wild.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's just, that's the point of it, right? Is that we're not supposed to sit here and find like all the fully understanding everything. It's like, yeah, I want you to come to me because you have faith to come to me. Like, it's gonna be a little bit hard on you to fully kind of commit. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, by faith you are saved through grace. So there is a faith element to the whole relationship with Christ, where you have to kind of really say like, all right, man, if this is you, like, okay, I'm in. And once you say you're in, that's when you can kind of start seeing, once he knows he doesn't have to kind of impress us or show us up, right. and like to get us going, like, draw near to God, he'll draw near to you kind of situation. Then you start seeing some cool stuff. But it's not that easy where it's like Thomas gets to come up and pull up. Thank you, Tony. That where it's like, all right, now I get to put my hand in his side and my hole in his, or my finger in the holes in his hands, and everything's good. Like, a lot of times it's a struggle to really push past that kind of stuff.
I think the way that you said it, I think that's the key piece of it, is faith is faith. Like, when you break down the term faith, like what that means, like for me, for example, like, I am very, like, I'm not going to be like that guy who said it, the scientific thing about the blowhole and all. Like, I'm not going to go that. Like, I didn't even think about that. Like, it didn't even pop up in my head.
Yeah.
But I think the faith is, you have to be fully committed to something, even if you can't see it. And that's the hard thing, because I think we're so, like, for me, like, I'm very, like, I need to see it, I need to experience it, I need to feel it, touch it, I need to be able to do things like that in order to really know, hey, this is real.
Yeah.
But when you fully commit to something, to have faith in it, especially for something like God, I think that's where the beauty is in. Because if you think of if you think of any story that someone's ever told you when you're like, wow, that's a very heartfelt story, but their faith is the reason why they got past that. Like, that is, like, there's something beautiful about that when you think about the word faith like that. And that's the hard part, is fully being able to commit to something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I'm at in my faith right now, is trying to fully commit to that without doubting, because I am stubborn.
Right. Yeah. That's a good struggle, though. It's okay to read the Bible and then say, what the heck? Yeah. Like, if you're just eating it, if you're just kind of swallowing any idea that comes to your head, then what's going to happen is you're going to hear a verse, and it's going to be so powerful that you kind of go in one direction with it, and it's not meant to go that hard on something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, hey, okay, visit the widows and the orphans in their affliction. Okay. All right. So that's what I'm supposed to do now. But then there's also, hey, you got to take care of your family, because if you don't take care of your family, you're worse than an unbeliever. So then how do you balance those, right? So if you only read one verse, then suddenly you're ignoring another, and it's like all this context where things are weaved in. You got to love your wife as Christ loved the church, or else, if you don't do that and instead take care of widows and orphans all the time, then you're screwing up. You're messing up the priority. So it's good to come to the Bible with the sense of, let me figure out the pieces that fit, and then kind of, work out my understanding of it, rather than, walking around and just saying, hey, dinosaurs didn't exist because it's not in there, or Jonah went in the whale. All right. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to kind of have like a super hard line. It turns people off, but it also kind of turns off your critical thinking. You know, you still have to kind of think through a lot of what you read. You know, and in Matthew, like some of the stuff where he's talking about Sermon on the Mount, and he's saying some stuff like, what is it? Blessed are the poor, for they'll see. Or, blessed are the peacemakers, for they'll see God. I'm like, what? What does that mean? You know, or poor, they'll see God, or
some
something.
Of it definitely. Yeah. Like, luckily, he got me the study Bible. Was it you or my mom and dad?
No, it was mom and dad for you, and then right. I got one for Liv.
Yeah. And that helps, obviously, a ton, because before study Bible, I was like, I didn't remember ever having one of those. Like, we used to do the old school, like, thou, like, stuff like that.
Oh,
like,
gross,
could
man.
Could never do it. Like, I could recite all these Psalms. Like, when we went to school at our private Christian school, our music teacher, she would create songs out of Psalms. And don't get me wrong, they were very catchy and they're very good, but I think I have them stuck in my head now.
Yeah.
So, like, having a study Bible is nice because it breaks it down for someone who's an idiot like me to understand it a lot more and be able to learn more about it versus just reading a verse, like you saying, like what does that mean?
Right.
Like, now it helps you understand it a little bit more. Yeah.
So you're kind of getting back into the faith, but so when did you kind of fall off, and what was happening there? What was?
Like I said, there wasn't anything in particular that made me just fall off. I think it just, at that point, I just quit, like, going to church. Like, I just wasn't going. I moved away for a little bit. I mean, that could have helped or started it, but like I said, it wasn't anything particular. I wasn't like I was mad at God or anything like that. I just quit going to church. I don't know, maybe part of it subconsciously was just because all it was when we were younger was church, this, do that, don't do this. And as a rebellious spirit as I was, I just didn't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
You know? And at that time too, like, I was also kind of went down a path of probably definitely not the best example as a Christian.
Okay.
Got more involved in worrying more about women, partying, ended up developing a drug addiction throughout the time.
Gotcha.
So obviously you're not really thinking about God a lot during that time.
Yeah.
Until something does go wrong.
Right.
Like I said, it wasn't like I was mad at God. I just drifted off with it.
Are you talking like weed? You talking alcohol? What do you?
So it started out for me was pills.
Dang, dude! Right off the rip.
Yeah. Right off the rip. It was. Pills were my go-to for anything and everything I could get. I mean, it started in high school. I was taking them in high school a lot. I was even.
Dang.
Like, were we even like drinking? I used to drink a lot as a kid. Like, we would even go to. And this was all I was always very sneaky about it. So, like, obviously when my parents found out, they were heartbroken.
Mm-hmm.
They had a liquor cabinet. They never even drank, but they had it. They've had probably since we were a baby. But I remember drinking some of that. I'd actually make a water bottle with whiskey, some Sprite, make it like, a little Crown 7, and then walk to church while drinking this.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got like a breath mint to cover, or you just kind of?
I typically did, but there was one time I definitely.
Oof.
People definitely. A lot of the other use was like let me smell that cup, and it was from people who also came from a past, like they went down the wrong path, but they were getting back into their faith, and like, hey, come on, man.
So they caught you.
Yeah. And they kind of told me, like, that's not right, but obviously I didn't listen.
Did they blow you up? I mean, did they tell your parents and stuff?
No.
Wow. Okay.
No, nothing like that. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so with the pills, that went on for a while, or is that just kind of a step into something else, or?
No. So the pills definitely. It lasted a while. I mean, it was whatever. Xanax, a lot of Oxy. I remember one of my best friends at a football game. I think it was also somatic, like we were talking about before the podcast. Like, I tried to play football, couldn't play because of grades.
Yeah.
So I kind of got pissed about that. So we go to football games. I remember taking or buying some pills at the game. My best friend saw it and tried to fight me didn't try to fight me, but he was trying to stop me. So I tried to fight him. Like, it started off with that all the way through high school. Kind of took a break for a little bit. And then I got hurt one time for an injury. So I went to the hospital. Obviously, they got no problem dishing those things out. And hospitals usually give you the really good stuff.
Yeah.
So ever since when that injury happened, it kind of just clicked. Like, once you get that one, pills I think are by far one of the worst drugs anyone could ever take or do. Someone who's taken them, who's seen a lot of people also have that addiction, then go down to something completely separate. For me, it never got past pills, but I mean, pills and Coke were probably my two vices. Were those two go-to.
Gotcha.
Luckily, I never got into anything injectables, anything like that.
Right.
But I have seen it where people start out the pills and then they go to the needles and things like that, and that's where that can go south very quickly.
Yeah.
So thankfully, nothing happened like that. I remember one of the last times I took a pill. This was I forget what year it was, but I used to. When did I live in Orlando? Probably 15 years ago was one of the last times willingly took a pill. I remember just sitting there on the couch. The girl I was dating at that time, she was asleep. I remember taking a couple pills, a couple more than I probably should have. I remember just like feeling very nauseous and not good, not like you normally do. And then all of a sudden, like I just had to throw up. So I literally ran to the bathroom and threw up. But to me, that was a sign to where God was saying, "Hey, we're not doing that anymore." Because like it was getting bad to the point to where I was stealing them from my coworker, my warehouse guy. He had them for a back injury. He'd give me some every now and then he quit giving them to me because he's like, I don't want you getting, any addicted and things like that. I was literally stealing from my warehouse guy. Like, because he'd keep them in his lunchbox. I knew where he was keeping them, so I'd steal them just to get them. Because I would try to go to doctor's offices. It's like, hey, I got back pain, help me out here. They look at me like, no, we're not giving you anything. So at that point, I kind of resorted to stealing them from, a coworker of mine. And then that's when that event happened where I just kind of quit taking them. Ever since then, I've only taken one once, and it was unknowingly at a hospital. I had a 4-wheeler injury, and they gave me, I thought it was an Advil, but it was not. It was a Percocet, and I was like, ooh, I remember this feeling.
Yeah.
But luckily, like I said, I never had urges. I've never had anything.
Wow.
It was, and that's why I go back to God on that, because I'm a very addictive person. If I get into something, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I will go all in, and that is it. And I remember getting hurt again. Doctor sent me. I had another back injury. Had herniated both my L5, my L4. Went to a doctor's office. They gave me painkillers without even thinking twice about it. Never took them. Had them in the house. Never had urges. Never nothing. It's just because I just quit it. I just said enough's enough and never wanted to do it again.
So how do these kind of pill addicts get by in life functioning and nobody really identifies? Like how is it so sneaky? I mean, if somebody's doing meth, I look at them, I know they're doing meth,
yeah.
Or even like potheads, if they're always high, like I can tell, I can see that but these opioids and stuff, it's like, I don't know how to really gauge. I mean, is there certain kind of behaviors that you got, like that you had going back then?
I mean, not really. Like the thing, I think it's different for everyone. But the thing with painkillers is like they develop some. Like if you ever watch like that Netflix documentary that got very popular about the Sackler families who created the first opioid, OxyContin. Like they were designed to keep people functional so they could still work and do things like that.
Gotcha.
So basically, what a pill is especially something like Oxy it's basically like a medical version of heroin. All it does is just calm you down. Like you just feel like it's very chill. You're just there. And that was kind of the enjoyable thing about it is you just. As soon as you take it, and you're just like, you just sit there and you're just nothing. You just kind of.
Is there more there the more you take? I mean, or is there like a drop-off point where
I'm sure there is.
Suddenly something goes really south?
I'm sure there definitely is. I thankfully never experienced it except for that part to where, like, my body was saying, "Hey, gave us something that should not be here right now," and it made me throw up.
Do you think that the pills were the problem or a solution to another problem?
It was definitely a solution.
Okay. So what do you think that was? What was it solving?
I think when most people who take drugs, this is from my own experience and then people who I know who have taken drugs, and obviously when you do it, you're around other people who do it.
Yeah.
I think most of the time you're hiding from something that, whether it's yourself that you're not comfortable with, which I think was a big thing of me. Like I wasn't comfortable with myself, or I wasn't happy with myself, what I was doing in life. I think that was my biggest thing. Plus, it's just easy. Like, and it goes back to my whole rebellion. Like, I like to do things that I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it was just as simple as that. But I think everyone who's doing it has, whether they will admit it or not, I think it is because they are unhappy with something about themselves.
Well, I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy you got out of there, man.
Nah, it's
being a good big brother to this guy over here as well. It's nice to see the recovery and now, I mean, you say an addictive personality. I don't know, for those that are just listening, this guy's yoked I mean, you're pretty swole right now. Your
it.
traps are pretty high up there on the shirt there. So is that how you channeled? I mean, because I remember back in the day, I don't think you were this fit. I thought.
Yeah, no, I was a chunky little guy.
I didn't want to say it.
Yeah,
but,
you know,
okay.
I was a little fluffy. That's why my Instagram name for a while was Fluff the Buff, because I was always a fluffy guy. Like my nickname in high school was Kung Fu Panda, and it wasn't because I knew how to fight. It was just because I was cute like a panda and fluffy, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was always big. I was the kid who shopped in the husky section, you know.
Okay.
You remember those? Yeah. Used to shop in the husky section, you know. Never got to wear. And the crazy thing is, when you look at pictures then, I really wasn't that big. I was just big to, like, we grew up in the Hollister, you know, Abercrombie Fitch, like where those guys are just like skinny little surfers, and it's like I could never fit in a Hollister shirt ever.
They didn't have our sizes in there, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, broad. You know, we need a little bit wider shoulders and things that can fit someone who actually has some arms. But yeah, no, I was definitely over 300 pounds at one point. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So,
and that was while I was doing the other addiction that I had, which is the opposite.
Yeah. So did it all transfer into lifting weights, or what? Like, what kind of got you out of it? What was the thing?
The last, like I said, I haven't taken a single drug since 2019. I believe. Yeah, 2018. I'm gonna do my math on that one. But that is kind of what.
What about 2020?
You getting called out by the little brother.
Does that count though? Does that count?
I mean,
you can find that growing in the woods.
I mean,
in a
it's a
pile
drug.
All right, there was a mushroom trip one time, or a couple of times. You know?
Okay.
But I will say that mushroom trip, it did change a lot for me. I will say.
It changed a lot for me as well. If you do you wanna tell that story?
Yeah. Let's
man,
your last trip. Let's hear it.
oh jeez.
It was your last trip too, wasn't it?
It was a rough one.
Yeah.
It was. So we got a group of us. We all got together, took some mushrooms. It was not our first time doing it. Last time we did it was we all rented an Airbnb out in Cape Coral. Nice little pool. You know, we just went away from. It was actually my birthday weekend, so we did that. We were just vibing out, had some good music going, had some LED lights in the pool, just swimming at night. Dude, it was like it was just nice. Everyone was just laughing, just relaxing, chilling. Like, it was a great time.
Right.
Like, okay, let's do that again.
Yeah.
So I got some stuff from a real person, you know, who actually knew what this stuff was called. And we took the same amount that we took last time, and it was obviously, because this one had a name, so it was a lot more potent than what it was. So we took what we normally do, and 30, not even maybe 30 minutes in, maybe 10 minutes in, just poof. Just started going a little bit there.
Yeah.
You want to say something on your side?
So did you participate, Tony?
Yeah, it was my first.
confessing?
Yeah, it was my first time I ever did shrooms, and it was like 3.5 grams of a mushroom called penis envy.
Yeah, they look like penises, hence the name.
Yeah,
Sick,
and
dude. Way
so
to start out on the penis envy. Bro.
Yeah.
Nice job, man.
Yeah, man.
Goes back to your opening question.
Yeah, man. Yeah, confirmed. Go ahead.
Correct. Yeah, we took it. Me and one of our friends. Him and I were outside. We were watching the sunset, most beautiful sunset I had ever seen. And then him and I come in, and everyone else is just tripping.
I was having a good time watching my TV show. They had LED lights on. Like, I was all about the lights and the pictures. Like, it was great. And we had two friends who did not have such a good trip. Like, they started going south very quickly.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it affects everyone else around you.
Yeah.
So it went dark very, 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 very quick. And when I say dark, dark, to the point to where Antonio,
I'm a lone wolf. I went to a room by myself.
Oh,
in the pitch black,
it's no good.
listen to Christian music.
Well, oh, okay. Christian.
I needed Jesus right then in that moment, man.
Do you feel like you were praying? Like, were you praying, or what? What was going on? What was?
I needed good. I don't want to say vibes, but I needed good vibes, and I know Christian music, and I didn't even really like Christian music at that time. But I was like, all right, I need some Jesus right now. I need some Jesus in my life in this moment.
Wow.
Yeah, the trip was everything. My trip was basically based on everything that can go wrong in life went wrong. Like, it's to the point to where first time my brother has ever done mushrooms, first time I've ever seen him do drugs, and I was with him.
Yeah.
And kind of encouraged it in a way.
Your parents know this, or are y'all snitching on yourself? Okay.
No, we told them. a year later or so.
Yeah, we told him years later. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like in my trip, I woke up, or we all had woke up, and I got my brother killed. Basically, was part of my trip. So obviously that's not sits a little heavy on you.
Yeah.
I got arrested. My brother was dead because of me. My parents hated me. They blamed me for all of it, of course, which they should have. So like I said, there was no good thing about it, but at the same time, it was also kind of like an epiphany in a way. It kind of showed me that everything that can go wrong in your life if you do not reach your fullest potential, what you can do. You're wasting a lot of your life is basically what my trip was about.
Yeah.
So like, I guess that was the last drug that I took.
Called out.
And then that was on a Friday night. And then he tells me on either Saturday or Sunday, hey, we're starting 75 hard on Monday.
75 hard.
That's
Took
what
too
it
much
was.
penis envy. Now you got to start 75 hard. That's pretty.
Correct.
A lot of innuendo there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what like I said, that's between that mushroom trip changed a lot for me. And that was starting 75 hard. And that's when I started to get in shape a little bit more then. And then just went more got
So you were
sober.
Kung Fu Panda in 2020, you're saying?
Yeah, that's when I was 300 pounds. Yeah, I was 300 pounds at that point.
Daggum.
So
Okay.
between that and then obviously COVID, when that whole thing happened, I was like, look, this something ain't smelling right to me here.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to go down that whole thing, but to me, it was like something ain't smelling right here. So like, if I'm gonna die, it's not gonna be because I'm fat and overweight. It's gonna be from something cooler.
Gotcha.
Or however God intends it. But I don't think coronavirus is the one that's gonna get me. So that was the other reason that got me to like, hey, let's get in shape.
And so then you got into nutrition, you got the nutritionist stuff, or did you already have that?
No, so like I've tried on and off. Like I said, I've always been the bigger kid. Like I would lose weight, and then like I remember football for when I played for the Lakeland Eagles, the little league. You had to be a certain weight limit to play for varsity. The max you could be was 190. Okay, I was not 190.
Yeah.
And you can go up each week. Each week you can go up. I think it was like a pound or 1 or 5 pounds. I forget. But I was like at 215, maybe 210 at that point, and I had to be down to 185. So I literally lost 15 pounds in a week.
Whoa.
Yeah, sweat, trash bag, hoodie, running up and down the hills at Jenkins, all just to make weight for a freaking little league football game.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did it, but I got sick as a dog and I couldn't even play my first game. So like I've always gone back and forth and losing weight, gaining weight, things like that. Like I never could find anything that stuck. And that was always the issue. Like I'd go to GNC, I'd spend $400, $600 on supplements I had no business buying because
Yeah.
if you don't have a plan, you're not going to succeed. There's no supplement in the world that's going to make that happen. And I didn't know that at the time. So I knew my track history was like, look, I have tried this multiple times on my own. It didn't work. So I'm finally going to hire someone. So I reached out to someone who I knew here in Lakeland who grew up here. He was very well known in the fitness world. He was a great personal trainer. Started a great meal prep company. Reached out to him. He recommended me to his friend who did it. And that coach changed my life. Like it was night and day. I hired him. It was the best thing I ever did. And that's what got me into wanting to do that for someone else. Because like he showed me how to actually do it without using a supplement and to keep it sustainable. Keep making it a lifestyle.
Right.
I'm a big kid. I like my sweets. Like the guy's like, all right, eat your carrot cake, but we're still going to lose weight.
Yeah.
So he taught me how to create a lifestyle, and that's what kind of got me into it.
Nice, man. So how long you been doing that?
Coaching?
Yeah.
Like, so I officially launched my coaching business 5 months ago.
5 months
Yeah,
ago.
5 months ago, yeah.
So entrepreneurial kind of spirit here. Yeah.
I wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah. We try and support those. We'll link your information down there if
I
anybody's
appreciate
interested in getting the coaching. So what does that involve? Is that diet? Is that workout? Is that life? What?
Yeah, it's everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so when it comes to nutrition, you have to obviously you have your physical, you have spiritual, and you also have mental. But the spiritual thing is a lot of people don't realize is that's a big part of getting successful in whatever it is. It doesn't matter what your spiritual is. For me, obviously Christian, so I kind of tap into that. Some people just it's spiritual in general where you just kind of find some calm and peace where you can say like, all right, because most people have an issue with food and they have a really bad relationship with food. Mm-hmm. So sometimes they have to have that kind of mental and the spiritual side to be able to help get those results.
Yeah. So what are the common issues you have there? Like what are the common excuses or things that people usually say that they're struggling with?
I mean, one of it is like the whole term lifestyle is so overused today,
Okay.
but it really is creating a lifestyle to where because like here, for example, like for me, like my favorite thing is sweets. I've always loved sweets. I mean, I was pre-diabetic when I was 300 pounds. I love sweets. That's my go-to. So if you tell someone to cut that out, and that might be sustainable for a week, but after day 5, Like they're gonna be like, okay, now I'm having cravings. I want to get this. And if the second they have their favorite thing again, or like the second I would have a piece of cake, I'd just go off the deep end again. Like I would not be able to stop. I'd just keep going and going and going. Like, all right, well, just ruined my diet, so I guess I'll start again on Monday. And that kept happening over and over and over. So if you create someone how to create that healthy relationship with food, one, be able to, if you can keep it in daily, like if you teach someone how to eat their favorite thing daily while still having a nutritious, balanced meal with everything else, like high protein, carbs, and things like that,
Yeah.
that makes it a lot more sustainable. That way they can keep it going. Because the hardest thing with weight loss is making it consistent. Consistency wins. If you can't be consistent for more than 2 weeks, you're not going to be able to make it long term.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a real problem in the church. I mean, we have a lot of sedentary. I mean, if you work at the church, you're not moving, you know, outside of like the silver sneakers showing up, which is like the old ladies that do the steps and stuff. They go hard in there.
I've never heard that before.
Dude, silver sneakers. You might have a hard time keeping up with those old ladies.
Yeah.
They set a pace like, yeah. But outside of that, I mean, pastors, you know, just anybody in the office, you're just kind of sitting around. And what happens, I mean, my first church job, I came in at, I think I was starting at like 198. I had cut some for a jiu-jitsu tournament, and I might have been like 205. And I'd go there, and that was the first time I ever had dessert at lunch.
All right.
I never heard of somebody eating dessert at lunch.
That's my kind of lunch.
But dude, we'd sit there, and there'd be a funeral or some kind of celebration right out in the fellowship hall. Well, yeah, I'm coming out there. Oh shoot, Miss Bertha made her blueberry pie, dude. Yeah. Gotta get some of that.
Get you every time,
dude. 6 months, I blew up 30 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of people doing a lot of celebrations in there, and you know, every church gathering, they've got the Publix fried chicken. That's like a standard. That's the first thing. Like you grab your plate, there's fried chicken there. It's expected for you to take one. And then at the end, they've got, you know, like I said, Bertha's special things that you're just like, what am I going to do? Say no to this? Leave it on the table?
It's just disrespectful.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an obligation to clear this. And I think, you know, a lot of times you see a lot of, I'm gonna say obese pastors, you know, from just said it. I guess how do you kind of manage where you're in a workplace that doesn't demand anything physically and it's bringing in temptations constantly? Like, what do you think? What would you recommend on something like that?
I mean, so the thing that I like, to give you an example too, like my full-time job, like coaching is not my full-time job. Okay. That is my goal, to create it a full-time job. But right now my full-time job is a traveling sales rep. I travel the whole entire state of Florida. Okay. Everything but the Panhandles, from Tallahassee down to Key West. So just like, you know, having an office job or someone at the church who sits a lot, like I sit all day driving from place to place to place. And then when I get to my place, I'm sitting in someone's office typically. So between all that, not really moving a lot. And that's how I got so big in the beginning of my job, was when I gained 30, very close to you, just like I said, 30, 40 pounds, just from driving and eating Chick-fil-A for breakfast and lunch every day, you know? And then going out to lunch with customers, dinners, entertainment, things like that. Like that's when I was drinking too. So I'd obviously have drinks and things like that. So it's just a bunch of unnecessary things while you're not really moving. I wasn't working out. So the simplest thing you start people out with is just moving. Like that's the biggest thing. Every time, even if it's as simple as every time you get done eating a meal, just go walk for 10 minutes. That one little thing will, one, help your digestion, help get metabolism going, and helps you move your body, because we all sit so long. Yeah. So just that one little thing is usually will make a huge difference, especially if someone's not used to it. Making the smallest change in your lifestyle will make a huge impact onto it. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that I slowed it down for me was cutting out sweet tea, man. I didn't realize the caloric intake there on how much sweet tea does. I mean, I'm from the South, like it's just, that was my go-to drink until about 22 years old. I said, wait a second, you know, I've got to slow this down. And now I've kind of switched off, and, you know, I'm doing, I guess there's no problem with diet sodas. Is there a problem with diet soda? No. Yeah.
That's usually what I get people to drink.
Yeah. So going with that, you know, it's allowed me to kind of stem the tide a bit.
Because you're pretty pretty stout dude yourself.
Yeah, but I've got some weight that I could drop for sure. You know, and that's another thing. I mean, I have certain excuses, like my kids stress me out. You know, I don't want to lose my head, so let me hit some Oreos real quick. That makes me feel better, you know.
Oreos,
yeah, yeah, or whatever it is, you know. Especially, and I'm sure
at one either.
I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure I'm not alone here, but like late night eating helps me go to sleep so much easier than having an emptying stomach. To have that full stomach, man, it just kind of passes me out. So it's you know, those are my struggles.
Yeah,
that's where I kind of screw up there. But I mean, is there anything I guess you would say to that, to the people and me, you know?
Do you eat breakfast?
Some. Yeah, some, yeah.
The number one thing that people don't do is eat breakfast.
Oh, okay.
Right, so say, and that's one of the best things you can do. So like everyone thinks you need some crazy plan, some crazy thing. It is very simple, but it's like basic things, but like it's hard to change those habits that we've created for so long. Like I was one of them. Breakfast was never an issue for me. Like I wake up and just first thing I want to do is eat breakfast. But like so say a normal day is you wake up not really hungry. Do you wake up hungry?
Sometimes. That's the thing. It's sometimes, man. Yeah.
So most people, when you wake up, you're not very hungry. I literally just made a post about this right before I got here.
Nice.
So when you wake up when you wake up in the morning, you're not hungry. So you typically will get some kind of caffeine, whether it's a coffee, energy drink, something like that. Tie you over. Maybe you get like a bagel or a donut or something like that on your way from Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, whatever. And then I'll tie you over till you get to about lunchtime. Might have something, you know, maybe nothing crazy, whether depending on where you go. Could be a salad, could be a pasta or a burger from restaurant from coworkers, whatever. But by the time you get home, you're starving and you just start binge eating, wanting to eat everything. Especially when you get home, you got the kids, you got the wife, you got all the family stuff that you got to do, plus everything else, and you just start picking away while you're cooking dinner. Maybe next thing you know, you're a sleeve gone of Oreos.
Yeah,
well, I've done it, and most of my clients, that's literally they all have that same thing in common. They all do that. Like they skip breakfast.
I'm glad.
Yeah, you're not. It's one of the most very common things.
Gotcha.
So the only thing I would tell you to do is eat breakfast, and that'll change a lot. It's that one little thing. Eat breakfast with the high protein in it, and that'll change your.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. I can
then still have an Oreo 2 a night.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, just not.
That's okay.
Not the whole sleeve. You know?
They get the family sizes, dude.
I know.
And I can't even. I mean, single stuffed. What is that?
Yeah, I say the same thing. Like, I don't even know why they make those.
Those aren't sold in the stores, bro. That's just to kind of meet some standard of like, hey, we have a low fat option.
Probably makes someone feel better that they ate a single stuff versus a double stuff.
Yeah. If you hand me a stack of single stuffs, I'm taking them apart and making double stuffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with all the flavors they have now too. You can get all these different Oreo's getting crazy with it.
I'm getting hungry. Just like honestly, that's a problem for me, man.
Especially with some milk.
Yeah, yeah. The milk is. Are you like a dunker, or you let it soak in there and fall apart?
I like to let it not like fall apart, but I like to let it sit a little bit just so it gets a little soggy and then it still stays intact.
Bro, you could let that thing just crumble in there.
Yeah.
And then I'll take that
Just
thing
drink
out.
it?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's not good. I'm sorry to gross anybody out. That's just picturing me slurping down some Oreo drink. But so, you know, getting back to how we could actually do anything about this, because this is the Eating Elephants podcast and not Phil just talking about how fat he is. So how, I mean, kind of using these gifts that you've been given, is this something where you're helping people and you feel like that's where God has you, or is this something where you haven't really figured out a spot to kind of utilize?
That is actually, it's crazy you actually asked it, because I had literally been, like, I will go through phases where, because I'm also that same guy who will do things, even, especially when you try to, like, growing up in church, it always comes back to God. And like, you always think about like, okay, is this going to glorify God? Is this part of God's plans? Because like, it's always what you hear from my parents, because my dad's story and how faith turned his life around is an amazing story. And my mom's is as well. So I think that was a good one too. But, and like, they talk about it a lot. And at the same time, I will make a decision even if I don't think it's part of God's plan, I'll make a decision because I want it to be God's plan, because it's what I want. I've realized, my wife will tell you, I'm realizing the older I get, I'm actually kind of selfish.
Okay.
I'm pretty selfish.
Well, that's the first part, is recognizing it, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
if you could say you're selfish, you become less selfish by saying that in some extent.
Yeah, I never realized it. She always was like, I don't understand. You had a brother. I was like, yeah, but my brother was the golden child. He got everything. You know, I got swept away. Now he's gonna pick up the microphone.
That's false. That's false. I just wasn't a troublemaker like you were.
I don't know if that's the case. Anyways, you can ask Mom that one, Phil. When
okay, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Who's the favorite?
Okay.
So but it's when I started this, because I really wanted to do it, because like I know how much of an impact it made in my life, and then I've seen it do in countless other lives as well that people have known. And I want to, what I do, I love my job that I do now, my full-time sales job. I love it. Mm-hmm. The guy I work for is a entrepreneur. He's an immigrant. He's an entrepreneur. He's created a very, 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 very good life for himself. So it's been amazing to be able to learn from him and see what he's done. He's built 2 amazing companies, sold it, literally the American dream. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love the business side of it. But at the end of the day, I'm not changing anyone's lives. I'm not making a difference in the world by doing that. You know, might help a floor get flat so a hospital can get operating, but it's not doing anything impactful,
Right.
Versus the coaching side, it is. If you can give someone a piece of hope back again, some confidence in themselves, whether it's a husband wanting to feel good again for his wife, to look good for his wife, or vice versa, whatever it is, or just to be healthy, to be able to play with your kids again. Because I've had a couple people like that who, like, I can play with my kids without being out of breath now. That's kind of what's been more impactful. So I keep praying to guys like, God, if this is what you want me to do, just give me a sign. Just give me a sign. Just keep it going. And then every single time, may not be that exact moment, obviously, but within a day, a week, I'll get like 3 new clients.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, maybe this is him.
Yeah.
Let's keep testing. Maybe let's do it. Let's keep doing it a little bit more. See if it's going to keep.
Hey, dude, ask and you shall receive, bro. You got to ask though. It's cool that you're asking.
And then I wasn't for like the first 2 months. I was like, okay, people know I've gotten in shape. Like I helped people before I actually launched my business, helped them, did it for free, things like that.
Yeah.
Like I never made a business out of it. So like I knew I could do it. I just didn't know how to really do it. And I was like, it's just like my business now. Like you don't get an order, a sale, if you don't ask for the sale. Like you have to ask for the sale. So if I'm not asking God, like, hey God, if this is what you want me to do, give me a sign.
Yeah.
Help me help someone else. And then every single time.
You do not receive because you do not ask. That's scripture there. But I mean, I see, like I said before, just seeing that how much obesity kind of runs through churches, and it's not a good look, because we know we're supposed to be, self-controlled, and so we got to work on that. I think that a nutritionist could really be helpful in different ways, as far as in the body of Christ, and and helping out. I know for me, and I might go on a little tangent here, and that's it is what it is, because I've got some strong feelings about the food pantries. I remember that the food pantries would be something that I have a divorced home when I was growing up, and my mom had a decent amount of funds, and we were all set up over there, but my dad was like scrounging, and my dad, that's when my dad lived next to the church that I first went to, and that's where we would go. And I'll say at First Baptist Bartow, like they really helped me out, and they had a food pantry there, and it was helpful. I will say that before I go into the negatives. I will say that y'all, they blessed my family, and it was a great thing that there was a food pantry there. However, all right, this is kind of like, I don't want to come off spoiled or anything, but whoever was stocking that thing, there was no like nutritional thoughts in their head when that was happening. So what would happen is I'd go in there, and my dad would send me in because he was he had some pride to cover up. Like he didn't want to go in there and be seen. And so that's another thing. It was right in front of the youth room. And so anytime I'm carrying out groceries, like all my peers were seeing me, that was a pretty rough. Churches need to think about the spot for the food pantry. Like that's a thought that you want to have, man. It's important, because there was a lot of humiliation there that my dad should have faced, but that's not where I was set up, so I had to face it, and that was awkward. Just a comment there, but also to know that they would give me like dry pasta, dried beans, and then you'd have cereal. You'd have the breakfast bars with the chocolate chips in there, and then you'd have like canned goods, and that sounds well-rounded, but the thing is, like, a lot of times, if somebody's going to the food pantry, they might not have the means to cook, and we didn't have electricity all the time. Like, there was times where that wouldn't be available. So boiling water isn't something that was just, I'm a kid as well. Like, I don't know, I was probably 13, 14 at the time. Wow. So I still had, I could do those skills, but I was not taught those skills, and also we didn't have power to do the things. And so what happened was, man, whoever was stocking that thing would just go and they'd do the 10 for 10 canned goods, and they'd buy what was available. And I'm telling you, man, all that was available was New England clam chowder. Dude, I can't, I'm starting to feel a little emotional response for that. New England clam chowder and Frosted Flakes cereal was my diet at my dad's for way too long. Wow. And the granola bars, they'd give us the granola bars. My dad, he'd crush those. I didn't get to see many granola bars. So yeah, I can't cook the beans, man. I can't cook the pasta. And you're handing me Frosted Flakes and New England clam chowder every week. Like, it was rough, man. And it's one of those things where, like, to this day, I don't eat New England clam chowder, bro. If I smell that stuff, I'm just like, gosh. Frosted Flakes, we've amended our beef, but just having all that constantly, and it kind of shows that poverty is cyclical in a sense of, if you're broke, you can't buy premium foods, you can't buy good food, you get what's given to you. And when you get what's given to you, you're eating Frosted Flakes and clam chowder as a kid, and then you have more health problems. When you have more health problems, you have less money. When you have less money, you're poor. When you're poor, you get what's given to, and it just keeps going, And I mean, luckily I had the split where my mom would hook me up, but I mean, summers I'd be at my dad's and it'd be surviving a little bit, and just thinking about, like, I appreciate you guys supplying this, and I would never complain. I would never say, like, hey, could you guys go get some pot roast Campbell's in there? Like, this Campbell's is this New England is killing me. And I wouldn't never turn anything away, because it was just kind of one of those things where you already feel super low. You already feel humiliated,
especially at that age.
Yeah, for doing it. And I just hated it, man. I hated it when, like, my friends would hold the door open for me while I'm carrying those grocery bags. I'm like, gosh, dude, could y'all put this anywhere else, And then Dad, like, come on. But just going through that and seeing the nutrition there, I think that even with that other stuff, it's hard to think about as churches, are they thinking about nutrition for the poor? Like, how many churches are doing a lunch or a free dinner, and it's a hot dog, with mac and cheese and a cookie at the end. It's like, yeah, that's cheap, sure, but are we thinking about the nutrition? I know it's a small item, sure, but has anybody thought about it? Has anybody really considered what you're stocking the food pantry with that actually extends the gospel to somebody or extends somebody's nutrition? I mean, I do love that church for helping me out, but I also have this thing about New England clam chowder. So,
understandably.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where I think that your profession could really benefit in certain ways, where the church has a good heart. It's just they're not thinking how to glorify God with all their mind, in the say of, like, thinking about how they go about doing the glorifying and how they go about helping the people in need. I mean, what do you think about that? Is that something that where you think if somebody in your role kind of came in there, you could say, like, hey, if somebody didn't have power, how are they getting protein here? Well,
I mean, to be honest, you gave me a new perspective I didn't have before, because I never even thought about something like that, to be completely honest. So I appreciate that. I think there are ways of doing it. It's, how can I do this without going on a whole tangent and making it government related and all this other blah. It's not easy. You can make some other choices, like you said, maybe switch off from clam chowder, something with a little bit more protein in it,
Yeah.
But I will say now that you're seeing, because perishable items like that you can take to a food pantry, they're obviously not going to be obviously the most nutritionist food because they're meant to last forever in a can.
Yeah.
Versus something like if you go to the grocery store and you walk around the perimeter of the grocery store, that's usually where you will find most of your nutritional value stuff because it's going to be your produce, it's going to be your meats.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you got a Publix, you might have the baker. Have you ever noticed how Publix places the baker before you get to all the other good stuff?
Smell it, man.
Dude, every time.
Yeah.
Like carrot cake. Every time I just walk by. But that's also kind of makes it a little bit harder to do it. Now, with that being said, obviously these companies, these big food companies, they're seeing now there is a bigger push for more protein-packed stuff. So even like those Nutri-Grain bars or those bars that you were talking about, even now there's a lot of those kinds of bars that are packed with more protein in them than they used to be.
Okay.
So those could even be something that you could still give to a food pantry that would help.
Yeah.
So it'd be better because it's more nutritional because you have more protein in it versus just straight sugar and carbs, basically. And that's also why a lot of people just get, overweight when you have because you just eat nothing but processed foods that contains a lot of sugar. So it's just hard to kind of get much value out. Like protein's the best thing you can eat as a human being by far.
Yeah, so stored protein is kind of hard. I mean, long-lasting protein.
Yeah, so like tuna cans, things like that.
Dang,
Those would be, and they're not crazy expensive either. Tuna cans, like you can usually get them pretty good deal.
Yeah, that's a good idea right there. Yeah, I didn't really think about stuff like that. So
you have chicken now in those cans as well. Like it doesn't have to be necessarily always tuna.
Yeah,
you got salmon.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, even if it's not premium fresh stuff, it's still something where I would have crushed some tuna cans, man. I mean, there was times there where it was like I was excited when we went fishing because it was something different. It's not clam chowder and it's not Frosted Flakes. Like we get to eat something else. And that's another thing about being kind of down is that you take what comes to you. I mean, I remember my dad like making turtle soup and stuff, and we're just like, I'm like, Dad, this is weird. We're eating a turtle, man. And he's like, what else do you want, man? It was kind of like,
was it soft shell turtle?
Yeah, it was.
I've actually heard those are actually like a delicacy.
I didn't enjoy it. I don't really remember how much we made of it, but I just remember seeing him clean it, and I was just like,
I can imagine.
I should not have watched that. Yeah, a lot of blood in turtles.
I have a friend that their family. That's like a thing that they eat regularly is
really
turtle soup.
Yeah.
And her husband, first time he had it with their family, he was like, I'm not eating this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he grew up very similar to how you described your childhood with the whole with the food and things like that. And like he's got a great story as well. But I remember him telling me, he's like, I'm not eating that.
Yeah. So I mean, just thinking about if you get what's coming to you, let's at least make the effort to give the most needy people. And I know people take advantage of the system. I mean, we're not dumb to think that like people aren't sitting there. Maybe they're trying to just sell the groceries or whatever. Like, don't get taken advantage of. Have a register of who comes at what time, so they can't just keep coming over and over again, possibly, or have some kind of follow up of helping the person out beyond just their physical needs.
Right.
I mean, they're coming to the church, and so like they do. It's the grounds to be able to pursue something like that. Right. I mean, it's not weird.
Another thing too to maybe think about, seeing if churches could do is, like, obviously they have the ongoing food pantry, like wherever, anytime someone wants to bring something, they can bring it and they have it there. Like even if there's like a day, it's like, hey, we're going to have a designated day where people come in and bring in food. That way that gives someone a little bit more time to actually go to the grocery store and bring in like a bag full of avocados, something that has a lot more nutrients in it versus, or even just bring in like a cooler and say, here's some, Publix is always having deals on ground beef or like their ground chicken is amazing. And they always have that buy one, get one free. Like things like that, where someone could just bring that in. Is like, and obviously that takes some coordinating, but that could maybe even be something where you could actually bring in.
Or, I mean, because the thing is, like, if a homeless guy goes to one of those, right, and you hand him ground beef, what's he going to do with that?
It goes back to your original.
Right. So it's like having maybe a separate thing where, hey, man, if you're down, no power style, this is a section we've made for you. You know,
Yeah.
that's got the tuna cans,
Yeah.
that's got the supplies. But then, you know, if you do have a home and you're just struggling, there's that over there. I would have ate that up, man. You know, I would have really, it would have been a bigger blessing than what it was. It was a blessing, and I appreciate that God's rewarded them for doing that. I mean, because some churches don't. Some churches you don't really see a food pantry, and
I can't think of a lot that we had a couple.
I know Bartow had one. I don't know if Highland City had one or not.
I don't think they did there.
yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things. I think that churches should be thinking about stuff like that. I mean, I've thought of, if churches got a lot of land, like why isn't anybody growing a garden on there for the food pantry, you know, or and stuff like that. So, but anyways, to take a bite of the elephant, to get to the action of what we were discussing to do, is I'd like to go back to some of these food pantries and just to see what the nutrition is that's given to the people in need, you know, and to run that by you and like have you there to kind of, or just bring it, you know, wherever you're at or whatever, and kind of see, is this balanced? Like, is anybody thinking about what this does to the person that's consuming it, right? Or like, what small changes can be made to optimize it? You know, okay, if it's missing protein, this for $4, we just made this way better, you know, something like that, and just seeing if we can really kind of, the ones that are doing this ministry, God bless them, yeah, but maybe improve it a little bit. You know, I mean, is that something you're down for? Or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be amazing, man.
Okay.
I mean, because for a couple of reasons. One, it kind of helps with obviously what you're talking about is more the education side, especially with protein, because that's, I guarantee if you look when we go there, you're going to see the lack of protein. And protein is, like I said, the most important thing a human being can eat. It controls your immune system, your hair, your skin, everything has to do with that. And as a country, we are actually one of the most under proteined consuming countries out there. Even with all the beef, like we don't eat enough protein, your daily person. But the other reason why that'd be amazing is because it does help serve, and that's something that I've been wanting to get better at and do more, especially as someone who is naturally selfish.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you not be selfish, and that's kind of like what I love about Access is the church we've been going to is they kind of make it to where you serve, whether it's in the church itself or like they do the serve days where you got the community, things like that. Like, and that's something that I really do want to start doing more of. Yeah.
Okay. So would you be open to, I mean, if churches hit you up, like we're going to give you the contact information, guys, in the description and whatnot, but like just thinking about even a luncheon, what option can we have besides Publix fried chicken? We love Publix. I'm not hating on Publix, but
I'm usually the guy who brings the chicken to the party.
Yeah. Like alternatives there, or, you know, even with the food pantry, like would you go into those churches and say like, this is what you guys are missing, this is something that you guys could offer?
Yeah.
Is that something okay?
Yeah,
so
a whole list and everything.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll work on that. And if you guys are listening and your church has a food pantry, please just take this seriously. You know, like I said, it is cyclical. It's cyclical. So poverty comes around and keeps you poor in a certain sense. And so we want to be able to not just provide relief, but also kind of change the pattern as well as churches to really make some impact. So I appreciate you coming on, Justin, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
man, it's fun.
And yeah, it was a good time. You got anything to say, Tony, about your big brother showing up here?
I have two things.
Go ahead.
One, I'm not gay.
Okay. He's been holding that in a while.
Since day one, since the minute we started.
Two, I'm not the favorite child.
Okay.
But I do think this would be, I think it would be really cool to get nutrition into like the lower impoverished areas, one. And then also, I think it would be a cool learning lesson for the viewers whenever we ever upload it.
Yeah, and then as far as life, so what's your business right now? The entrepreneur, you offer life coaching. You offer, I mean, just to plug what you got going on.
So strictly just new online nutrition coaching.
Okay.
So obviously it's nutrition, it's lifestyle, but it's also the training part as well, like the actual like physical programming of the workouts, things like that. But I spend a lot of time on nutrition because that's a lot of key things that's where the biggest struggle is with nutrition. Most people know how to work out.
Yeah.
They know how to work out, but they don't know what to do outside the workout. and that's the smallest part of the day. You're going to spend an hour, 2 hours max at a gym. You got 22 hours after that. What do you do with?
Awesome. Okay. All right. Yeah. So y'all hit them up if you're interested in that. I'm going to pray, and then we'll sign off here. God, thank you for a productive talk, Lord, and just being able to execute what you want us to do. God, I pray that this reaches the churches that it needs to be reached to, God, that we can help those in need more and more. We don't want to look down on anybody, God, and we want to be strategic in what we do when we offer help. I just thank you for the churches that are out there that are helping. I thank you, and I ask that you bless them. And I just love that you call us to be a family, Lord, and that we help each other out. And I don't know, man, just thinking about some of those darker days, just seeing you provide the people to bless somebody in need. I just thank you for your working ahead and you providing ahead of time. We love you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
All right, brother.
Peace.